All right, welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, and that is
Dr. Crystal.
So, did you know your brain has to stay active?
That's right. It
Yes.
needs stimulation.
It needs stimulation. It needs exercise. See, I did it with the quotes.
Fitness.
Brain fitness. No, these are all important things. Brain health, keeping a strong memory, cognition. Dr. Crystal, it's top of people's lists all the time.
Oh, sure. And we recently did a study. We surveyed our customers, and that was one of the top areas of concern that people want to maintain over even cardiovascular health and other health areas.
It's scary because we see things like Alzheimer's and stuff like that, and it's sad, it's scary. So I think there's like a little emotion also connected to this.
Yes.
So what we wanted to, because it's and food's important. We talk about food a lot. That's not really the focus of this show. We do have some supplements at the end that we want to share with you, but this is really more about other things, the games and the puzzles. So on today's show, we're going to talk about brain activities, exercising your brain, how to do it, and some of our favorite brain games and some research behind them, right?
Yes.
This isn't just us making stuff up. This is research shown games, research proven games.
Well, yeah, and hopefully by the end of this show, you'll know kind of what you should be doing, some of the best strategies to exercise your brain.
So let's start off. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to get into specifics, but we just kind of wanted to first lay the foundation that these kind of games and activities do work, right? So I have a study.
Okay.
Right? I have one here. It showed that frequent engagement in the following activities, and I'll list them out, right, was associated with an 11% increased risk, 11% decreased risk of dementia during a 10-year follow-up with over 10,000 people in their 70s. So you ready for the list?
Well, let me give you some context really quick.
Okay.
Because I kind of did a little bit of a deeper dive. These were community dwelling individuals, number one, without major cognitive impairment and without cardiovascular disease.
Okay. So pretty overall healthy 70
Right.
years.
So they're in a community, and now we're saying, kind of identifying what's keeping their brains fit.
Healthy. Yeah. So 11% lower risk of dementia. Here they are. Here are the things that you might want to do. I found this interesting. Write letters. And then, of course, our script writer puts, forget ChatGPT. Write your own letters.
I know, because AI is doing a lot for us, but the takeaway is that you need to do it yourself. Don't depend on AI.
Yeah.
Write your own letters.
This next one, I think you do, journaling.
Yes.
That's a big thing for you,
right? I like to journal. And yeah, it's a way to express your thoughts, get it out of your head, get it on paper.
This next one is kind of weird to me, because we want kids off these things, but now we're saying, at least if you're in your 70s, you may want to go on these things.
Yes.
And that's computers.
Well, you want to talk about mental stimulation. If you are searching the web, and that's specifically searching the web, actively reading, participating, what you're doing is there's stimulation coming in.
Yeah.
You have pop-ups. You're trying to navigate. There's always something new on the World Wide Web. And for someone that's probably in their 70s, that can be challenging.
I guess so. I don't know. To me, when you watch the kids, it's just the kids. It's just, it's this, or it's whichever which way they go. There's no engagement. So I think maybe it's more like read an article online, don't you think? Or something along those lines. And coming up, maybe play some games.
Yes.
Last one was I love this one. Taking educational classes. Learn something new.
Well, so when you think about exercising your brain, it's very similar to exercising your muscles. It should be challenging, and these are some of kind of the staple things. It should be something that you find difficult to do. And so when you're taking educational classes, you're learning something new. Maybe in those classes, you have the challenge of taking tests at the end. Those are difficult things, and sometimes you're multitasking, and all of that is a part of that exercise
Yeah.
for the brain.
When I was in medical school, the oldest patient I took care of, as in, I think it was third year medical school, internal medicine, in the hospital. Can't remember her name. She was like 95. Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh, and I asked her. I said, "What is like? What's because everybody wants to ask that. Like when you're dealing with a 95-year-old, like how did you get to this point? Because I kind of want to get to that point. Like what did you do?" And she talked about learning was big for her, and I found out she was enrolled at the local college, taking courses learning how to build websites, HTML code.
What?
Yeah, this is back in the 90s when HTML code was a little, but she was learning this. She was
95 years old.
95 years old. She was in the city college learning computer science.
Well, you know, they don't, now at your local community centers, you know, I live in the city of Plantation, and they have coding classes. They have all sorts of classes like that where you can learn something new, language. We'll talk about that. And most of those are really inexpensive in your local community.
So those are the things you could do to looking at the risk of dementia, right? That's because that's what we're all kind of scared of, right? So that those things have 11% lower risk in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Now these next things had a 9% lower risk.
Mm-hmm.
Still pretty good, right?
Yep.
Playing games, cards. That's a big one, I think. Cards and stuff. My parents used to always play bridge.
Oh.
Did you know that one?
No.
I don't think, you probably don't. Chess, we're going to get into that one. Crosswords.
Oh, yes.
And
that's
other puzzles.
Typically what you see more older individuals playing the crossword puzzles, but maybe that's something you're doing by yourself, and I think there's something where you're playing the games with other people that can help to exercise the brain.
My mom and dad, every morning, that would do the crossword. They were serious about it. They had books. Like you could look up certain to help you figure out what that word is.
Yes.
Yeah, they were serious about it. Then there's other activities like just reading books, watching TV. All right, listening to music, radio. I think that's a good one. Music, crafting, woodwork, metalwork, painting, drawing. Those all had a 7% lower risk.
So I think what we're saying, if we can remember, these individuals, community dwelling, 70 years, follow for about 10 years, over that 10-year period. And the people who were staying active in some kind of way, keeping their brain active with these activities, there was a lower risk of dementia. That's your first step.
Here's some other things you can try. This is now outside of the study. This is just other things we came up with.
Yeah.
Right? How about using your non-dominant hand to do certain things? I'll tell you what, I tried this once. I know I told you this and you laughed at me for a long time. I tried using, so I'm right-handed, right?
Okay.
I tried using my left hand to brush my teeth. That was, and here what's funny about it. I have the electric, and I have a powerful one, you know that.
Okay, yes.
And I using my left hand, it was like, I couldn't control it. It was bad.
So I have a colleague, our manager of clinical information. She started doing this using her left hand for her mouse at her computer desk.
That's probably hard too.
Very challenging.
Yeah. So just play around there. Just switch it up. And what you're doing is you're challenging the other side of the brain. We talked about this one, learn a new language. That's part of that learning, education.
Yes.
I think learning a new language is a great way to really turn on some brain activity.
Yes, and there's some amazing apps. I'm happy my mom's now using an app, and we're learning. She kind of knows Spanish already, but she's refreshing her Spanish and learning new words together, and it's really great.
Omida.
Yes, Omida.
Hi, Omida.
All right.
She says she uses Bone Restore with K2. Oh, she's just a life extension customer. She loves it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm happy that you found the show, Amita. We are here every Wednesday, 12 noon.
We've been doing it for 5 years. Amita, where you been? All right, but great to have you today.
Learning to play a musical instrument.
Perfect. Yeah.
Or just learning something new. And again, it should be something that's going to challenge the brain.
Fast brain fact. Is that what it is?
Fast fact.
Fast brain. I'm going to say fast brain fact.
Okay.
Try to say that 3 times. That's probably good for your brain too. Fast brain fact. Fast brain fact. Here we go. Ready? Your brain, and this is actually from the university. Where was this from? Northwestern University
Northwestern.
Medical School. Your brain has virtually an unlimited memory capacity. A healthy brain has billions of neurons. That's a lot more storage space than on your smartphone. But when these neurons get damaged, like with Alzheimer's disease, that memory capacity is impacted, unfortunately, not for the better. So doing everything we can to keep the brain healthy with food, with supplement and games is key.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
a lot of people are asking specifically about chess.
Yeah, well, that came up a lot, right?
Yes.
I would have thought, and the crosswords came up too, and we'll get to that, but I thought chess was pretty much the number one thing people were talking about.
I think people associate chess, and I think just imagery in movies
Yeah, that's probably
and
where
in
it's
the
from.
media, it's always the smart person playing chess
I could play checkers.
associated with
Can't play
intellect.
chess. Do you play chess?
No.
Yeah.
It's on my list to learn
checkers
because I
is more
think
my
it's going to
pace.
make me smarter.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about. So the question is can it help? Can playing chess boost my brain activity, boost my brain health? And the answer is yes. And we found a study.
Yes, yes. And just a quote from the researchers: "We quantitatively validate an existing neuroscience hypothesis that learning a certain skill can cause a change in the brain, functional connectivity,
That's
and
key.
anatomy."
Let's talk about so that functional connectivity. That's what drew us to this study. Remember back at the beginning of the show. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is increase those brain cell connections, those synapses, the nerve highways in your brain.
I like
that's where memory is. That's where recall is. That's where cognition is. And when you see a study claiming that there was an improvement in connectivity, that is something to keep an eye out on.
And we do know that it declines with age.
For sure.
And that connectivity is what's allowing you to learn those new things, and it helps to improve your memory.
Yep. Another study concluded that long-term professional chess training, now keep that in mind, this is chess training, not necessarily being a professional chess player, but you said you wanted to do this, right?
I do.
This is for you then.
Okay.
If you get into that training class for chess, that may enhance processing, visual motor transformation, which is just the efficiency of your brain and how you see something and you act, like catch a tennis ball, that kind of stuff, and cognitive ability.
So maybe I should.
Maybe we both should. And then we can
See if I can find time. Add that to my self-care routine.
Right. All right. So that was chess. And then a lot of our audience members, people online, were also then trying to connect chess to a reduction in the risk of Alzheimer's.
Yes. And so we have some research. We'll go over one study or a couple of studies in healthy patients at risk for dementia. And then we do have a study in Alzheimer's patients that we'll go over. But first, in healthy patients with dementia, a study published in the American Medical Association Journal, open network that involved more than 10,000 participants. Again, these are the same participants that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Specifically, playing chess or engaging in other mental activities was associated with that 9% lower risk of dementia. So we do know chess was one of those games that
really good, yeah.
were played.
But let's think of this like when we present data like that, right, and present results of a trial. That's like saying it in a vacuum. Like that's all you're. Let's think of this though. When you think of it holistically, and you're eating the right food.
Yes.
You're taking some good brain nutrients, right? You're getting good exercise, regular exercise, and you play chess. So imagine what all of that might result in a decreased risk. Right?
Very true.
Right.
And then there's another meta-analysis, or it's a review of pooled studies together that examine the effects of board games in general. Some of those board games were chess, specifically Chinese chess, among older individuals. And they found improvement in mental function. Also, increases in brain-derived neurotropic factor levels.
We're going to talk about that. Now,
that's the Chinese chess.
Yeah, that looks like checkers to me, like a Chinese. Like I've never heard of Chinese checkers before, so I have no idea what that was. but apparently is pretty good for your brain.
Yes. And chess also improved quality of life in this study.
I mean, it makes sense. If your cognition's better, your memory's better, you're being more socially
Right.
active. I think that's.
And
where
I
that
think
comes
that the key with chess is you're not only thinking about your move, you're thinking about the player's move. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to think ahead and strategize, and you have to
from.
see
It's a good point. Yeah.
all the possibilities. And so I can see how that can be difficult and really stretch the brain.
I like that. I think that's a good theory, Dr. Crystal. Now, what about, you mentioned there's a study in action, because all of that was not in Alzheimer's patients. That was in overall pretty healthy people over 70.
At risk
or
for
whatever.
dementia.
Right.
Yes.
So, but now there was a study in people with Alzheimer's, right?
Yes, and so that's the question. Can chess playing prevent the disease? Alzheimer's disease patients assigned to 6 months of 1 or 2 hour daily Chinese chess playing. So it's called Go Game. Go Game participation had less anxiety and depression, which can be increased during Alzheimer's disease, improved functioning and higher serum levels of that BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, than the control group.
Why is that important? Let's explain, because
Yes.
that caught our eye, right? When we saw that this kind of what's called a neurotrophic factor going up, we got excited.
So I think a more simpler term for that is nerve growth factor.
Yeah, just nerve growth factor.
And I think that says it all.
Yeah. Basically, it's a compound that's going to actively improve repair and growth of different types of neurons and stuff. Yeah. So it's good to have it around.
And it's good to have it around and seeing that it can be increased if you have Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. Then, so besides chess, people often ask then a lot about puzzles, right?
Yeah.
And I think when we first, because it's so silly. When I think puzzle, I think of a puzzle, right? And that is one way, like an actual puzzle with pieces. That's a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
But in these studies, in these surveys that some of these groups do, puzzle was a larger category, right? And it include like crosswords.
Yes,
and
that
even
was a
certain,
specific type.
Yeah, even certain games. So you got to think broader than a regular puzzle.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see what we found. Crosswords versus other games. What's better?
Crosswords.
Crosswords by far.
Yep.
Yep. So my
Compared
parents,
to some of those computer-based games, even some of those apps that you buy to try to exercise the brain, it seemed like crossword puzzles perform better.
yeah, and some of them could be pretty tough. You know, it really kind of tests your vocabulary level and everything. So crossword puzzles definitely are the best way to go. That was actually published in the New England Journal of Medicine. What about just video games? You know, we got a lot of kids today staying up very late.
I think a lot of adults stay up very late
I
playing
agree too.
video games. The video game culture is huge.
So listen, we're concerned about that level of play. That's a lot that they're staring. However, is there a silver lining here when you're playing video games?
There is a weak silver lining. We'll say that. So a recent meta-analysis concluded only a weak relationship between video game skill and cognitive ability.
Yeah.
So some people think, you know, just because you're really good at video games, that's going to make you smarter, and that seems to not be the case.
Your mom is saying hi.
Hello, perception is the key for chess. Thanks,
Look
Mom.
at that. She's making sure you get it right.
Look, well, my mom, she does all of this. She loves her
That's great.
her apps. She's always exercising her brain. I appreciate that, Mom.
Fast. I can't even say it right. Fast brain fact.
Fast brain fact.
Oh, that was good. We use more than just 10% of our brain. Because there's a lot of like myths out there, right? And one of the myths is, we only use like 10%. That's not true. What you see in sci-fi movies or shows are actually false when they talk about that kind of stuff. Neurologists have confirmed that even while we sleep, our brains remain active, using way more than that 10%.
All right, fun fact.
Fun little fact. What are some of other like strategies that you've looked into? So we covered a lot, right?
Right. So we have the research with dementia and educational classes. We talked about that at 11% lower risk of dementia. Intense language and brain anatomy. So learning the new language, there's research showing that it's increasing the volume of the hippocampus and cortical thickness. I know Dr. Mike wanted to get imagery of this.
I did. I wanted to show comparisons, but it was hard to kind of find that. And the images weren't great in a lot of that. In the language part of this, and what they found, especially with brain volume going up, that was in a bunch of interpreters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. Maybe later in life, I'll become an interpreter.
Go for it.
No, probably not. Language and plasticity. Plasticity, again, fancy word for connections, right? A lot of good stuff there. Again, if you're learning new languages is a pretty good thing to do for your brain.
But I like this one. Learning to play music versus listening to music.
Yeah, that's
what do you think is going to exercise the brain more?
Learning to play.
That's right.
Pick up an instrument, guitar or something, and just have fun with it and just learn. Learn the keys, learn the chords, all that kind of stuff.
And let's just pause here. That saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
I was paused.
It does not apply to humans and our brain's ability to create new connections.
It doesn't apply to the dogs either.
I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. Old dogs can learn new tricks. It's silly. It's really the motivation to learn new things.
Oh.
Boom.
Boom.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into some supplements now, right? Are we ready for that?
Yes.
Wait, there was one more music one. Did you want to mention this or did you?
Well, it's just playing the musical instruments, just showing that it helps with processing speed.
Yeah.
So again, it's never too late to learn to strum a guitar.
Yeah, and this is cool too because this was over 13 different studies piled together in people 60 years or older. So definitely learn new language. So that was a lot of the brain activities. Again, we don't want to do any of these things isolated though, right? Brain health, good cognition, good memory throughout life requires other things like good food, normal exercise, these games and crosswords and chess, all that stuff. But certain targeted nutrients are also very important.
Yes. So we have our top three. Well, my top three.
And I got mine.
Your top three.
Right. So you want to go just with your three first?
I'll give my three first. And my three, it always goes back to food. And so I kind of picked some of my top food nutrients, which ones have the research. And I'll start with carotenoids.
Why?
Because the carotenoids, these are pigments. They're most commonly associated with eye health. And so that's we know beta carotene, lutein, zeaxanthin. These are those colorful red, orange, yellow pigments that's in food. But they have anti-inflammatory benefits. They fight free radicals and they concentrate in the brain, specifically lutein and zeaxanthin. We know that the brain is the eyes are directly connected to the brain.
Yeah.
And
it's a quick entry right into the brain.
Yes, and research shows that individuals that have higher or who intake higher levels of carotenoids have a decreased risk of Alzheimer's disease. So food, your red peppers, your carrots, your zucchini, your squash, all those colorful pigments, even your spinach.
Saffron.
Saffron.
Some of your spices.
So think about the reds, the yellows, the oranges.
Very good.
Include those. So that's my number one. Number two, great polyphenols. And when I think about great polyphenols, I think about those dark pigments in the grape are antioxidants that help with blood flow to the brain.
Yeah, very good.
And they also help to support the health of the microvasculars, those tiny blood vessels that's delivering nutrients and oxygen to brain tissue.
I like it.
So that's my number two. And then, of course, number three, Omega-3s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fish oils.
That was going to be on my list too, but you took it.
I took it.
You took it. Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And so we know even in young children, pregnant women, they need omega-3s for the health of the brain as it's developing, and we continue to need it.
You need omegas from the womb to, when it's dead.
From the womb to the tomb.
There you go. Right. That's really good. 2 to 4 grams of total omegas.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give them the breakdown because EPA, DHA is important here.
Yeah, so EPA, DHA, those are your top omegas. About 1,400 milligrams EPA, about 1,000 DHA, around that amount. But you want to look at about 4 to 6 grams total omega-3s. And if you
said 4 to 6. I'm always lower than you when we do omegas. I say 2 to 4. You say 4. I am at 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You should be.
You made me. Don't you remember?
I do. Because he was at 2. And we're like, what are you doing, Dr. Mike?
Right, so there's your omega. All right. So that's your 3.
Yes.
Excellent choices.
Thank you.
My first choice is a special form of magnesium. And matter of fact, I think someone was talking about it on the chat.
Oh, yes.
Magnesium L-threonate. Here's the thing. Magnesium is a very important mineral for the brain. In the brain, it's involved in building those connections.
Yes, and that was Onita again.
Oh, yeah.
That asked about magnesium L-threonate.
There you go. Here you go. And so magnesium is what's needed for that, to make those highways, right? Well, magnesium has a hard time getting into the brain at the end of the day, but magnesium L-threonate doesn't. It gets into the brain far more than other forms of magnesium. And so that's the brain one for me, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then melatonin. It's not just for sleep.
Right.
Melatonin is a powerful antioxidant for brain cells.
And can I add something to your list? Well, to your melatonin.
Why not?
When you're sleeping, good quality sleep, going through those phases of sleep.
Deep sleep, remember?
That's when your brain is consolidating your memories. I mean, your brain is cleaning up. Fixing itself, repair.
Yeah.
So
melatonin helps with that.
Yes.
But then at the same time, it protects brain cells. It protects those synapses.
Yeah, it's an antioxidant.
Yeah. There's even some research showing that has anti-cancer properties. I mean, it goes on. You should look into melatonin. It's pretty impressive what we're discovering about it. And then lastly on my list, because it has to be on my list, it's simply a good multi-nutrient. All of your vitamins and minerals every day. Think of it this way. These are the basic building blocks of healthy humans.
Yes. And then there was a recent study about individuals who took a multivitamin.
Improved cognition across the board in those that were taking one and those that weren't. So good evidence for it. But here's what we hear this, right? People say, well, no, but I'm eating better now. I'm getting enough of my vitamins and minerals, right? And that's great. Please continue to eat well. But there's still, we believe, a nutritional gap.
Yes.
Food is just not going to get you to that level we want you at. So a good multi-nutrient, magnesium L-threonate, melatonin, your choices.
The omega-3s, great polyphenols, as well as carotenoids. And there was a question there, is there something... are there supplements for memory loss associated with a concussion?
Oh, well, okay. Well, I can tell you, I have some information on this. So, and this is from Jerry.
Yes, thank you, Jerry, for your question.
Thanks for joining. This is not specific to kind of the show, but it's been shown 2 hormones could be pretty important here, pregnenolone and DHEA. These 2 have been looked at both separate and together in concussions and seem to help to limit the damage and help recovery.
Yes, and now I know you're talking about your daughter, Jerry. So those both are hormones we probably wouldn't want to give them. Yes, but omega-3s. There's research with omega-3s and just helping with kind of some of the inflammation that's taking place in the brain after a concussion.
There you go, Jerry.
Talk to your doctor, though.
Yeah. We got the disclaimer out.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how to keep your brain active and exercise it, right?
Yes.
Brain fitness. And again, think of the whole package. Think of your food, think of your supplements, think of your regular exercise, and then think about some of the things we talked about. Chess playing. I think for me, what's impacted me the most, learn a new language and play an instrument. What do you think? What do you think?
And I'm doing both.
Woo! And I'm doing nothing.
So,
Right.
but you will, right, Dr. Mike?
Yes, I'll get to it. So thanks for joining us today. Don't forget we go live every Wednesday at 12 noon. And we're on live on so many channels now.
YouTube, we're live. LinkedIn, we're live. You can watch the show on Instagram.
Facebook. So wherever you watch it, there's usually a button or there's something to ring or there's a thumb to button. Just hit it, comment, share the show, but make sure you do one of those so that every time we go live, it'll let you know.
Yes.
Right. And all
You'll get a notification.
Yep,
Turn on notifications from
There you
Life
go.
Extension.
12 noon Eastern. Oh, by the way, Life Extension, our sponsor, wants to say thank you. If you go to lifeextension.com, buy whatever you want, maybe some of the nutrients we just talked about. At checkout, you put in LE Live, and when you do that, you'll get $10 off, 50 bucks or
10%.
more, or 10% off, 50 bucks or more, and free shipping and handling. That's at lifeextension.com. I'm Dr. Mike.
I'm Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for watching.